Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back. I hope you're enjoying the day so far and all the talks and Q&As that we've had. And I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by my co-founder of Imposter Syndrome Awareness Day, Nat Schooler. Welcome, Nat. It's been a fantastic day so far.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. It always is, Lisa. We're into
Mm,
number five now, and 5 years we've been doing this, and
yeah.
the amount of value that people get from this is untold, to be honest. I mean, I think, it's life changing, really. Once you actually can overcome this, I mean, some people say it's not possible. They say that you always have it. I actually don't. I'm not sure if I believe that. If I'm
Mm,
brutally honest, there are different opinions, just like what we're going to talk about now about the comfort zone, and
yeah.
it's it's so exciting to actually really dig into these things because really what we want is happier lives, more success, more time with family and friends, hobbies, and doing meaningful work, and these things can be really tough to achieve if we're always focusing on the negatives, you
Yeah.
know?
Absolutely. And the comfort zone, see, that's something we're going to cover this afternoon. And also, I think around those feelings of imposter syndrome when it comes to going out of our comfort zone for things that we're doing. I had experience of this recently where an opportunity came up and I suddenly thought, oh my God, I cannot do this at all. It is way out of my comfort zone. I've never done anything like it. And then the feelings of imposter syndrome kicked in. Should I be doing it? Am I the right person to do it? There are far more worthy people and far more qualified people than me to be doing it. But I think it's quite almost dangerous to stay in your comfort zone or stay in your swim lane, as somebody that I used to work with put it, in terms of staying in that sort of particular lane that we're doing. But I think we don't grow and develop if we don't go out of our comfort zone. I wonder what your thoughts are on that, Nat.
Well, there are different opinions on this. I mean, the late Jonathan
Mm.
Chase, who was Britain's leading stage hypnotist for many years, he actually moved into a career in subconscious success. And if anyone wants that interview that I did with him, please drop me a message on LinkedIn or ask Lisa, and happily send that to you. And he really believed that being in your comfort zone all the time was the way to go. I actually don't agree with that. I think personally that leads to a mediocre life, in my personal opinion. I think that if we are wanting to achieve things, if we are wanting to improve our lives and do better than we've done before, then we must push our comfort zone. And nothing is easy that we learn in the beginning. If it was easy, everyone would do it as well, right?
Yeah.
And learning new skills until your confidence can align with your competence, you really have to work for it. And you can't expect to just wake up one morning and be a brain surgeon, right? But what you can do is you can actually understand your weak points, you can understand your competence, and you can take the time to work on those weak points. They could be behavioral things. Like, for example, I really stepped out my comfort zone building this desk. Okay. It's a two-person
Yeah.
job. I moved house. I posted it on my Instagram. I know you saw it. And I kid you not. Wait a sec. I'm going to look. If you want to talk a minute, I don't know where the instructions are. No, I can't find them. Thank God. They're 16 pages of instructions to
Wow.
make a desk. Okay. And these were not easy to understand whatsoever. I don't have a patient, well, I didn't have a patient mindset. I want everything now. I have never been good at DIY. My ex-wife used to harass me to build shelves and build desks and build all of this flat pack furniture, and I hated every moment of it. I had a bad back at the time, And I was thoroughly miserable when I was given the instructions. You need to make this. We need to put it up. And it's like, you're kidding me. But if you then you're like, actually, I'm going to look at this differently. And you look at it differently. I mean, I spoke to my friend Christian. He's also my mechanic, and he's got the electric drill, and he's amazingly good with stuff like this, and he loves it. But the thing is that I stem from a family on my father's side of engineers. He is an industrial engineer, and his father was an industrial engineer. Both of them were at MIT. My father even taught at MIT, and the sort of mindset that you have when you are an industrial engineer is very different to the mindset that I used to have. And I thought, do you know what? I'm going to make this desk. And if I break it and I break something, then tough. And it
Yeah.
is what it is. And I sat down and I read the instructions. And to be fair, I had a few glasses of wine the night before, so I wasn't really feeling my best, to be fair. But I sat down and I read these instructions, and I spent, it's got to be about 40 minutes, because I'm telling you what. So with this desk, you've got a pillar over here on the left, which is where the desktop computer goes. You've got on the right, you've got a pillar, which is where the drawer, not the drawer, the cupboard is. And you have to make these two separately. Then you put the tabletop together with the shelf, which is where my monitors are both sitting, and my camera. And then you put all these things together, but it is not as simple as it sounds, right? It literally, this is a two-person job, is what they say. And at the top of the thing, it says fast, right? It says fast. And I'm like, this is not fast. And it's a two-person job. They think it takes an hour. Seriously, it took my friend Christian, he looked at the instructions and he went, that does not take an hour. And this is someone who is really technically minded, yeah? And it was an absolute victory, right? It was a victory because I pushed myself and I stayed patient. And pushing yourself and staying patient when you're out of your comfort zone, understanding your mindset of, do you know what? I've never done this before, but other people can do it. Why can they do it and I can't? How is that possible? How is it possible that those people are able to do this and I can't do it? And that was what I thought. And I sat there and I was like, do you know what? I'm going to make this flat back desk, right? And I just felt absolutely determined to push through, right? But thankfully, my friend Christian said to me, what you need to make sure you do, I said, have you got any tips? This is when I ran away with his drill. And I said, have you got any tips? He said, yeah, what you need is with these particular, so there are these screws that screw in and they pull it all together and they've got an arrow on them. And when you slot all these things in together, if the arrows don't face the actual nuts that are going to screw into the back side of that, it costs you lots of time and effort because you're messing around. He said, just make sure those arrows are facing the right direction. And I did. And it made it so much easier. Right.
Yeah.
And it's so if you are thinking you're sitting here, you're watching this and you're listening to me and Lisa and you're thinking, oh, but I really want to do this. I really want to do that. It's like, look, just find someone who's been a bit better at it than you, who is where you might want to get to, and ask them for help. Right. I mean, you start jujitsu, you get crushed for 3 years. Yeah. It's awful. But eventually you look back and you go, wow, I'm not getting crushed as I was in the beginning. And it's the same. It's the same with everything that we do. My advice is just get stuck in.
Yeah, absolutely. And from my perspective as well on that, being somebody that is neurodivergent and diagnosed with autism and ADHD, I would get really frustrated with myself where I could do so many things within my work and day to day and just do them like that, easy. But when it came to doing things around the house, or more sort of for example, renewing the car insurance or all that kind of thing, it was almost like a paralysis. And I couldn't compute this competent person in this one area with this completely incompetent person in another area. And I didn't realize until I was diagnosed with ADHD that that is actually extremely common with people with ADHD. We actually struggle with what everybody else considers to be the most basic of tasks. And we almost have, paralysis around them. But give us a big report to write or a big piece of research, or something like this, or standing up in front of, however many people, and we can do it. Doesn't mean the feelings of imposter syndrome don't kick in, because they absolutely do. Again, for example, I will get as far as I'll have a glass or a mug or a cup or something like this. It'll make its way to the kitchen, but if I put it down on the side and then something else comes into my head of, oh, I've got to do whatever it is, that mug or that cup will stay on the side and it doesn't make it into the dishwasher. And that drives my husband absolutely mental. And the biggest thing he'll say to me is that start one job and finish it. Start one job, finish it, then go on to another job. And as somebody with ADHD, I just don't have that. I've got a million and one things going on at any one sort of time, and it's inevitable that something will then, fall through the cracks. So I won't do something. I'll go up the stairs. I'll leave the lights on. It's you name it. But I can be really competent in doing things like this. So yeah, go figure. Just in terms of that, I don't get it, but yeah, it's the way I
It's
am.
really interesting. It's really interesting because what you're actually saying there about, I don't know a lot about ADHD,
Mm.
but I certainly probably have it, because I find it very difficult to do certain things which other people would find really easy. Like, for example, like getting my MOT done. Today
Mm.
I was supposed to get my MOT done. I completely
Yeah.
forgot because I
Yep.
was busy. Yeah. But the
Yep.
thing is that you shouldn't be so hard on yourself, right?
Mm.
And this is something that I'm really working on, is trying to be kind to myself, but not, I mean, I'm not saying too kind, because you still need discipline. And that discipline, if you can build concentration levels, quieten your mind, it really helps.
Yeah.
And I certainly noticed the difference when I've been doing Tai Chi. If I haven't been doing Tai Chi, I've been doing Tai Chi nearly 30 years now, every day. And over the past 3 or 4 months, I've had sporadic training. Usually I do 1 hour minimum per day, up to 3 hours. So it involves a lot of leg pain generally, because you're holding lots of postures for considerable amounts of time, doing various squat postures and things like this, lots of squats and stuff. And I think the slower you can move, the worse it is, right? In many cases. And but that Tai Chi training and the Qigong training, which is much like yoga in its application, it really helps to focus the mind on the task that you're actually doing, and so you don't get distracted. And what happens is that actually goes from that area in your life into other areas in your life, and calms you down so that you can actually function and control your outputs, right? And when I used to teach Tai Chi probably 15 years ago, I had a great student who's still a friend of mine now, and he's called Noah. And Noah was a very different student. To teach Noah, you had to change what you were teaching him very quickly before he lost interest. So
Yeah.
it's a bite-sized learning, as opposed to a deep dive. And the bite size is, okay, I'm going to teach you this one martial application. You're gonna parry the punch and punch in the ribs. Okay, so you parry the punch, you step forward, punch in the ribs. That would go on perhaps for maybe 3 minutes. We would practice that. Then I could see in his face that he's getting bored, and and I would say, "Oh, okay, we're going to do something else now, right?" And I would change entirely what we were doing to be something else that may be against a kick, a technique against a kick, or something like this. And it's funny because teaching Noah how to learn taught me how to learn, right? And it's interesting because I know it's not relevant to comfort zone, but
Mm.
it's really relevant to learning.
Yeah, absolutely. And we all learn in different ways and we all have different learning styles. And we also have different ways. So we might learn better, some of us might learn better online with online courses. Some of us are better in groups. I'm absolutely the opposite of that. I'm far better if I'm taking courses online in my own space and I'm not within a group. I'm far, far better if I'm, and that is my preferred learning style. So we absolutely do have different ways of learning things and retaining that information as well. And if somebody, and I think that's why I struggled so much at school and in the workplace because it wasn't the material, it wasn't the actual learning, it was that being in a big group in classroom style environment. I don't cope with that very well at all. And even when it came to doing exams, you were in this, big hall with these individual desks, and you were still, in that room with, everything, and the invigilators are walking up and down and looking, and you're almost like, oh, don't look at me, and you want to sort of shrink into yourself and so on. And I actually found that whole environment really, really off-putting. I absolutely hated it. And if it was subjects that I really was interested in and passionate about, like English, for example, I'd be done by about halfway through the exam and I'd just be, and you couldn't move until the end of the exam. Even if I'd finished that piece of work, that essay, that test, whatever it was, you still had to sit there to the very end. And I absolutely hated that.
Interesting. Interesting. What's funny is this morning I actually was going through some stuff and I dug out a load of things that I collected over the years. And when I used to work in a wine merchant's, my boss, Terry, was my manager. He gave me this glass. I don't know if you can read that, but it says Audentitior Ibo,
Hmm.
which means in Latin it means I will go daringly, right?
Okay. Yep.
And you know what? You need to follow that advice and
Yeah.
just get on with it, yeah, and stop caring about what other people think, right? Like that is the most important thing for me. It's just like, actually, does it matter if someone sees you failing and they haven't even got the gumption to even start or even
Start.
attempt to do what you're doing? It's like, are you going to get on a video? Are you going to interview someone? Are you going to write a blog? Are you going to go into a new class, learn a new skill? No. Well, if you're not, then why not? What are you afraid of, right? Are you afraid of
Yeah.
failing? Like, I mean, everyone starts somewhere. Like, look at like Michael Jordan. Like, how many shots did Michael Jordan take before he started getting great at basketball? How many? 10,000, right? It's like
Absolutely. Yeah.
it's but it takes a certain time for you to actually accept the fact that you've just got to do it. And you know what? Forget that feeling that we all feel inside, right? We all feel it, and it's fear, yeah.
Yeah.
And that fear, we just need to move through it and say, okay, so I'm acknowledging that I'm scared here, but actually, on the other side of fear is everything that you ever wanted, you know?
Absolutely. And a example for me on that is I'm a huge, huge fan of Queen and Freddie Mercury in particular. And so when the film Bohemian Rhapsody came out a few years ago, there was a line in that film where Queen's then manager Jim Beach said when they were talking about the recording of Bohemian Rhapsody. And he actually said the line, "Fortune favors the bold." And that really resonated with me. That was like a big light bulb moment, sort of very similar to what you were saying of, so I might fail, fortune favors the bold. And since then, and this actually takes us a little bit sort of full circle into the whole comfort zone conversation we were having. So, despite those voices in my head, that inner imposter that was always there telling me, you shouldn't be doing this, you're not good enough to do this, there are far more worthy people, far more qualified people out there to be doing what you're doing. I just decided, do you know what? Fortune favors the bold, and I'm going to do it anyway. And it's a little bit like there's a book as well by a lady called Susan Jeffer called "Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway." And very similar kind of thing. And I've done and I've achieved so much because not only is a lot of what I've done, particularly in cybersecurity, being out of my comfort zone, it's also been because fortune favors the bold for sure.
Amazing. It's funny because I know you're a subscriber to Monday Influencer,
Yeah.
and Stephen and I write a lot about these topics, and how fear is actually really important. And for me, fear actually keeps me focused on the goal in hand, because actually the fear of failure is not a bad thing, right? It
Yeah.
means that you care about what you're doing. And if you don't care about what you're doing, you're not going to feel fear, you're not going to be scared, which means that you're going to do a half-assed job. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. You are, right? Because it's a lot. It's connected to pride, it's connected to comfort zone. All of
Mm.
these things are really superbly connected to keep us focused on what we want to achieve. And it's like everyone that does something new feels fear. Everyone.
Yeah.
And it's I mean, like, if you've ever been to martial arts class, I know you have, Lisa, and I know
Yeah.
you probably, hopefully, will be going to karate quite regularly, I hope. And if you've ever been to martial arts class, a new one, now that is scary, right?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
I've been to many different
Yeah.
martial arts classes over the years, and that's why I love Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, because generally people are just super friendly. Yeah, they're super friendly, and yeah, it's scary, like going to
Mm.
roll with some people you've never met before. But like, that's how you learn. Like, you learn by losing, yeah, with these things, yeah. And it's, you learn that if you do something in a certain way, that you made a mistake, and actually that mistake cost you an arm bar, and in the real world your arm would be snapped at the elbow, right? And or you would be unconscious and someone choke you out or snap your kneecap or something. And it's like, but it's like, you tap, right? And you tapping says, okay, you beat me then, right? And it's like everyone goes through that learning, and it's says me, I've been off jujitsu for a while because I've been moving and went on holiday and stuff. But um I really have to get back. But then there's that dreaded thing in down here in my heart that's like, oh no, these people are going to kick my ass. Oh my God, like what am I going to do? And it's like, well, yeah, you just need to embrace the sucking.
Yeah.
Embrace sucking at something. Like, you just suck, right? It just
Yeah.
it just is what it is. And if you think about it, some of the people, say you pause on doing something, and everyone else keeps doing it. Say you pause for 3 months, that means that you've paused for 3 months, so you've gone backwards 3 months, and they've gone ahead by 3 months. So they're actually 6 months
Mm-hmm.
ahead of you in many
Yeah.
cases. And if I leave it much longer, that terrifies me, to get like trashed by a bunch of kids. Yeah. It's awful.
I mean, for me with martial arts, it's helped so much with my focus and concentration. And I do Wadaru karate, and I still do it with my sensei, Matt Gilmore, who I actually started out with in Wadaru when I was a teenager, and I stopped it because my ex at the time wasn't sort of too happy about me doing it, thought I would get hurt and so on. So stupid me listened to that, and I didn't do it for a number of years. But actually, and I know that I'm never going to get to a lot of the levels of the different belts and so on because of my dyspraxia. because I do have left right coordination
Aha, aha.
issues because of dyspraxia and so on. And you know what, Nat? I don't care. I'm not doing it for the belts or the colours or
Right,
getting up to a Dan
right,
this or, first Dan, whatever. I'm at my level and it helps with my focus and my concentration. And yeah, keep doing it. I might go sort of up the ranks with the belts and stuff, but I don't care if I don't because while going out of the comfort zone and everything is key, I also know that with that there are certain limitations that I've got because of the coordination problems and the fine motor skills
right.
issues that I've got with dyspraxia.
Right, but that even with that, you will
Yeah.
find that the brain and the muscle memory are
Mm.
amazing things. And I mean, look, I'm an older athlete, right? So I'll be 50 in a couple of years. And being an older athlete, when you're training with younger people, they've always got more stamina than you.
Mm.
But then there are other things that you can focus on, like in jiu-jitsu. Certainly, there are things that there are positives. You can slow
Mm.
things down. You can use your grip to your advantage. So I think with all these things, it's about working out what you're good at
Mm.
and and then working out what you could be good at if you put your mind to it based upon your
Absolutely.
brain and how you think, how you learn exactly, which is what
Yeah.
you said here. And I think it's fun. I think more people need to actually just say, do you know what, feeling that you can't do something is the
Mm.
reason that you start learning. And
Yeah.
you said it. Yeah, it's about that enthusiasm for learning, right? And childish enthusiasm is what makes us learn, because it's fun.
Yeah.
Learning is fun. And if we just decide, you know what, maybe I'm not going to be the best at this ever in the world. Okay, I'm never going to be a professional jiu-jitsu fighter because I'm 50, coming up to 50, 60 years old. So I've seen some guys who start jiu-jitsu at the age of like 65, they become black belt by 75. Yeah, right. And it's like amazing that
Mm.
you can actually do a lot of these sports. You could take up tennis, you could do pretty much anything you want, but you need to understand you may not be great at it in the beginning, and that's
Mm.
just your ego suffering, right? It's just your ego suffering. But you know what, go and find a coach, find a teacher, go and find a mentor, and they're going to give you the shortcuts, right? The shortcuts to learning and becoming great at something. And it doesn't matter if you look silly in the beginning. Do you think everyone looks silly in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
And Kim talks about this a lot. Kim Adele, who's the other co-founder of International Imposter Syndrome Awareness Day. And it's like, look, when you're learning how to walk as a child, your parents and your brothers and sisters, if they're old enough, are cheering for you. They want you to walk. And if you fall over, they help you up and they continue to encourage you to walk. And this is what we need to be more like in our society. We need to be more encouraging to our
Mm.
friends so that we can all grow together.
Absolutely. And I've unfortunately had the opposite experience, and I don't understand why people do it, whether it's jealousy, whether it's just that they're scared of you or they think that your abilities are going to show them up in some way. But the amount of bullying and abuse that I've had through every area of my life has just been insane. And there is a correlation between those of us who are neurodivergent. We do tend to have much more bullying and abuse aimed at us. Whether that's because we're perceived to be different, well, I don't know. But but you know what? I just think excuse the terminology, but sod the bullies. They're just
Yeah, yeah.
not, yeah, just, forget them. They're just, whatever they're saying, it's not true. And I've had all sorts of stuff, aimed at me over the years from various bullies and abusers of that ilk, one of which you knew about now. And I just think, you must have a very, very sad life if all you want to do is to tear people down, not build them up. And I'm all about the opposite. I'm all
Yeah.
about building, everybody I come into contact with up, and long may that can continue.
Yeah, 100%. But I think
Mm,
a lot of it is to do with the society that we grow up in. In England,
mm,
I mean, my daughter, she every so often she comes to stay with me here, and in the beginning of each time in the beginning, we start out with her trying to bully me like I'm some kiddie friend of hers, and I'm like, look, I don't respond well to that. You need to stop that now.
mm.
And I am not someone to bully. I won't tolerate it. Someone tries to bully me, I will cut them off, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, there's a difference between bullying and a a fun, engaging bit of not rivalry. I would call it
Hmm.
just fun,
Yep.
engaging banter, and that comes in levels, right? There's a level over here which is okay, that's cool, I enjoy that, it's fun, we both banter and we enjoy each other's company, and we help each other not to take life so seriously. And then there's the other side, which is really cruel, really wrong, really deprecating behavior. And do you know what, if people are like that to you in your life, you need to cut them out. They're like a cancer to the
Yeah.
intellect. They're a cancer to your dreams, goals, and your peace of mind and your happiness. And I'm proud to say that I don't have anyone in my life like that these
Mm.
days. Not at all.
Yeah.
And it's a real joy to work with you and Kim and Stephen J. Manning and all these amazing people, like
Mm.
Nicholas Babin, all these great people that support us, right? And we
Yeah.
support each other, like Michael Tobin, OBE. All these amazing people are in our lives and they support us on our journey because, we all have a journey that we're on. And that journey, sometimes we can be late starters in life. Sometimes, we have to just start where we are and say, do you know what? The comfort zone can just do
Mm.
one. And
Yeah.
and we need to face up to the fact that, become a warrior, right? And just get on with it. Like don't second guess everything, in my opinion. Second
Yeah.
guessing is another
Hmm.
massive mistake.
Yeah.
Massive mistake.
Absolutely. And I can tell you that we've done this with no sort of agenda, no questions, no anything. I can't tell you how much I've actually enjoyed. We've actually just gone over the 30 minutes that we set
Oh, thank
for
you. Sorry
this.
to eat up your time.
Oh no, no,
Yeah.
no, no. It's been amazing. And that's the point. And I'm actually going to relate this, sort of back to the comfort zone, because turning up on this today and not having that prepared, I'm always one to be sort of, everything's got to be
I
organized,
know you are.
have its order. And we were just talking about this before we started recording. And everything's got its order, its questions and so on. But you know what? Just turning up to this today without an agenda, without questions, and just seeing where the conversation goes, massively out of my comfort zone. But you know what? I've enjoyed every second of this, and we've actually gone kind of over the time
Thank you.
that we have, and it's just
But
been really, really great to just come onto this call and just talk and to share these these insights.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
especially on Imposter Syndrome Awareness Day.
But we also need to remember the little thing that we talked about in the beginning. It's like,
Mm,
look, if you're going to go and do something and you're going to
yeah,
go and do something new, right? Then just come up with your own like ritual. Us guys, we like to wear cufflinks, right? At least I do.
yeah,
I like to wear cufflinks, right?
yeah,
And I put these cufflinks on specifically to talk to you about the rituals that we kind of create, yeah? And it's like, look, it's like, look, you go to jujitsu, you learn how to tie your belt in the beginning.
mm,
You wrap your belt around, you tie
yeah,
it, you put a knot in it, and it has to face one way. And you know what? That's a ritual. You ladies have that. You wear your flower in your
yeah,
hair. Um, you know, Kim might dress in red
mm,
as an example, yeah. Or we might wear ties, us guys, and
mm,
jackets, and these things are like armor for tackling this comfort zone and tackling
yeah,
whatever it is we're going to do. And do you know what?
mm,
If you fail, then you're 100 times better than that person that said, I really must do that someday.
Yeah,
Someday leads
absolutely.
nowhere. Yeah, nowhere.
Someday is today. Someday
Yeah.
is absolutely today. And you mentioned the flower and stuff that I wear. This tip I actually got from a really good friend of mine in the cybersecurity industry, James Bohr, who is part of Bohr's Group, and he's also the founder of Security Blend Books. And I was talking to him about personal branding and so on, and the tip that he had is he has a range of different hats that he wears when he goes out to do speaking engagements or goes out to cybersecurity conferences and so on, so that if somebody sees him, they can recognize him from the hats. And he said, pick something. He said it could be, anything at all that's like your sort of personal calling card that will form part of your brand. And he said it could be a piece of clothing, it could be a particular color, it could be just, anything that just stands out as being you. And then this one day, I actually put a flower similar to this in my hair, and that's what became my thing as part of my personal brand, or that's the calling card. I've got a variety now of different flowers, different colors, styles. Some are quite jazzy with sequins and so on. And I always wear them on things like this when I do online calls and online talks and meetings. And I also wear them to conferences and events. And I'm not kidding that when I went to info security for the first time, it was actually 2023. I didn't make it in 2022 after the pandemic because the trains were on strike and I couldn't get there. But in 2023, I had this flower in my hair, and it was amazing how so many people, I couldn't walk more than a few steps and somebody else would come up to me because they'd been following me or connected with me on LinkedIn, and they'd seen me with the flower in my hair, and they said that that was how they recognized me. So it absolutely does work. And that's a tip that I would give to anybody listening today, is find that unique thing that can form part of your own personal brand. And as Nat said, it could be cufflinks or a tie or something, for the guys. And for us, it could be that color or this distinct thing. For me, it's that flower in my hair, and it really does work.
Yeah, it's brilliant. My father used to wear bow ties all the time.
There
He'd
you
wear a
go.
bow tie all the
Yeah.
time for like 40 years. He would just wear bow ties. Yeah. Crazy.
Uh,
All different
uh,
ones. Just every day, just a
Absolutely.
bow tie. Yeah. And people remembered that, because it's different. It's different. But thank you, Lisa. It's been
Absolutely.
really, really great. And thanks everyone for tuning in to Imposter Syndrome Awareness Day this year. We've had some amazing guests. And
Mm.
I think there may be a couple more to go, hopefully. And yeah, I might need to change my shirt again. And it's incredible what's happened with this, and we're really looking forward to where it goes the next few years.
Okay. Thank you, Nat. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in and listening today. Keep following us as well on our LinkedIn page for Imposter Syndrome Awareness Day, and our other social media channels. Let's keep the conversation going as well, because as I've said a few times today, it's all around keeping the conversation going throughout the year, not just on the Awareness Day, which is, of course, today. And we do have a couple of other things coming up. There's a Q&A session that I did with Deanna Morikara, and also a Q&A with Brendan Weston, who's also another neurodivergent person. And we touch again on imposter syndrome and neurodiversity. So do please keep tuning in for the rest of the day's events. Thank you again, Nat, and we'll see you all on the next event soon.
Always a pleasure.